Welcome to Dem DeFi Boys. Today we're going to talk about the most important part of being a successful DeFi operator, mindset. Just finished a run and wanted to make a quick video about 4 things you can do to cultivate a successful mindset to be profitable in crypto, or at least to get out alive. Really, this is a bit of a diary to myself, a bit of a reminder of things that I need to be mindful of to escape the walls closing in, which absolutely it feels like they are sometimes. So we'll get started. Number 1 is acknowledge that this industry is an absolute grease trap, full of charlatans, full of grifters, people trying to extract value. The sooner you make peace with that, the better. I fundamentally do believe that some of this technology will revolutionize the way that we conduct business and transfer value and XYZ. I don't need to convince people watching this video of that. And if you're borrowing my conviction, then that's probably something that you need to work on personally as well. But just acknowledge that this is a highly manipulated industry. You don't have to try and front run these moves. You don't have to try and predict what's happening. The number 1 question that you really need to ask yourself is our world getting closer or farther to an increasingly digital way of operating? If you think we're going closer to a more digital way of operating, then that should be enough for you to be convinced that these assets are going to be worth more in the future. So number 1, acknowledge that this is a manipulated grease trap of an industry. Number 2 is zoom out and think in a longer time horizon. So not just in terms of your technical analysis on the charts, which yes, absolutely get off the 15-minute chart, but more so in terms of these timeline events that people get so fixated on. And every single time that one of these timeline events, has to go up X amount of percent in this quarter, or else it means we're going to the depth of the bear market. Every single time that you get convinced that's going to happen, and then inevitably that it doesn't happen on the right date or in the right time span, it can really rattle you. So stop putting stock in these arbitrary timelines, zoom out, acknowledge that the trend is up and to the right. Everything's going to be okay, but again, don't borrow my conviction. You have to cultivate your own. But just stop putting stock in these timelines because, like I said, every single time that one doesn't hit, it can be a little bit soul destroying. So, number 2 is zoom out. Number 3 is stop endlessly consuming content right after this video and start creating. And it doesn't mean you have to start creating content with anything to do with crypto. In fact, probably good to not try and create content relating to crypto. Stop trying to convince your friends and families to get involved because that does just add to the stress levels. But start contributing in a meaningful way into something that you're interested in. Like I said before, you should already have conviction in the assets and the price trajectory over a long enough time span. So if you have that conviction, the rest of your time shouldn't be spent learning more about that asset or asset class or use case. It should really be spent on creating more value to purchase more of those assets. Now, me personally, DeFi is that avenue, or one of those avenues that's the lever that I pull on to create more value and to acquire more of those assets. It's absolutely something that I'd be more than willing to help you to do. And if you're on this channel, then you're probably already somewhat interested in the DeFi realm. It's something that's drastically changed my life. I don't really have a job anymore per se. I use assets that I've been holding for a long time. I borrow against them. I deploy them into liquidity pools, and then they create more of these magic internet currencies. So that's just one element of how you can create value. But really, if DeFi and crypto is all that you're interested in, all that you're caring about at the moment, I would urge you to pick up an old hobby that you potentially let fall by the wayside, reconnect with friends and family. Don't talk about crypto to them. They don't want to hear about it. And if they do listen to you, and if they don't have enough experience and enough knowledge, they're going to get it wrong and they're going to point the finger at you. So stop endlessly consuming content because you're going to get all confused. One day it's going to be incredibly bullish. The next day it's going to be incredibly bearish. You're going to chop and change your thesis and you're going to end up in a worse position. Case in point, one of my best mates who had heard us talk about crypto and he was tenuously interested but he didn't really want to learn about the industry at all. He bought 3 or 4 assets that he heard us talking about. We didn't even know he was doing this. And then about 3 months ago, he told us that he'd spent the last 3 years buying these assets. And I guarantee his portfolio is in a better position than 99% of people watching this video. And he consumes 0 content. He doesn't know what any of these assets do. He just started buying them, dollar cost averaging in, and he's sitting pretty now. And he hasn't had to spend a single second worrying or questioning himself. He's done it. He's kind of done it on expert mode. So I'm not necessarily advocating for that. It's just a little bit of a funny anecdote. But yeah, especially if you're watching this, well done, sir. Number 4 is memento mori, which is a bit of a Stoic principle that just means remember we all die. Or as my best friend and mentor, Ben the Dreamer, likes to say, life rips and then you die. Stop taking this so seriously. There's much more important things in life to spend your time thinking about and manifesting positive outcomes. There's a little bit of a sort of a part 4B to this, which is if you're worrying about something, if you're spending a lot of time getting anxious about the outcome of a particular event, whether it's investment related or health related or anything related, the more that you're thinking about that and giving negative energy to it, the more likely it is to happen. I would urge people to check out Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on the power of positive manifestation and how he's actually managed to scientifically verify some of those more woo-woo claims. But just acknowledge that we're only here for a short time. If you spent the last 3 or 4 years doom scrolling Twitter and X and YouTube and getting so caught up in this little weird bubble that we're a part of, then just imagine what you could have spent those 4 years doing. And yes, you can make a shitload of money in crypto. That's obviously why we're all here, why we spend a lot of time researching and thinking about it. But I would urge you to try and break free from that habit. Start thinking about what you can do differently, which is, part of advice number 3 as well, which is stop consuming and start creating. But have the context that we are only alive for a short time. Things are not that serious. Get outside, touch some grass, start waving off these flies like I am at the moment. Go for a surf, go for a swim, connect with friends and family. All of those things are much more important than trying to get the latest alpha on X or YouTube. I promise you, if you delete X for a month, you will still hear about anything that you need to hear about, and you'll get probably hours back in your life per week. So, number 1, acknowledge that it's a grease trap industry. Number 2, zoom out. Number 3, stop consuming and start creating. And number 4, remember that life rips and then you die. If you liked this content, give us a like and follow, and then log off YouTube and go and do something else better with your time for a couple of days. If you would like to see some more strategy on how you can use DeFi to create more value and to not have to worry and wait for this magical bull run of fake internet money, please hit us up. It's much, much easier than you think. You don't need to spend a fortune. You don't need to start with a huge amount of capital to achieve some pretty key goals. And then, go and enjoy life. Thanks, guys. Peace.